Hi there! In today's video I'm fixing some of the issues that you have posted on my ChatWTF GitHub repository. So if you don't know yet, this is a chatbot that I created using PHP and JavaScript, and it uses the ChatGPT API. So it's basically a ChatGPT clone. So if I go here to my project folder and I cd into this PHP version and I run the PHP built-in server here, and then I open this in the browser. Then here is my ChatWTF, and then I can ask it questions just like ChatGPT. So I can tell it to write a poem about the Rust borrow checker, and it will happily write a poem about the Rust borrow checker. And in the previous video I converted it to use this streaming method, so it will actually print the response as it is coming from ChatGPT. So here we have a beautiful Rust poem. The Rust borrow checker, a tool most mighty, audits every pointer and keeps our code tidy. Now, some of you have already cloned this GitHub repository and tried it out yourself, but some of you have also had some problems with it. So let's go to the issues on my GitHub page, and let's see. We have 3 closed issues and 1 open issues. Not that many issues, but let's take a look at these. So here's the first one, issue after deploy. So the problem is that it only gives the response, sorry, but I don't know the answer to that. Well, this was back in the first version where if it encountered any error, it would give this answer. So it didn't actually tell you any information about the answer, about the error. So then I answered that you have to put the API key in the API key.txt file, which is a bad idea to put it in a text file. I have fixed this since then, so it is now in the settings.php. And then I just told them to check that there's no white spaces or new lines in the text file. And they said that it was fine, there was no white spaces or anything. And then I updated the code that it actually shows the error message from the OpenAI API if there is one. And then they got an error, you exceeded your current quota. So that was the problem in this one. So let's see the other one. Unexpected end of JSON input. So they said that they can't run the code and they get an error. And I told them to check the network tab of the Chrome DevTools and check the PHP error log. And of course there was an error that the class OpenAI was not found, because this project depends on the OpenAI API, which I use this package for. So you have to install the Composer package, and installing that fixed the issue. Now, I have had many people ask me about this thing. Like, why doesn't it work? What is this thing? How do you install this? So in today's video, I think I will update this code to use my own version of the OpenAI library. Or I have created in a previous video just a function that sends a message to the OpenAI API and then retrieves the answer. So I will update this code to use that so I don't have to have any dependencies. And maybe then people stop asking me questions about this problem. And what is the vendor folder in the repository? Why is it not included? And of course, I don't include the vendor folder because you're supposed to download it yourself, so we don't have code duplication. I don't want to include someone else's code in my GitHub repository. So let's see what else do we have here. Removal of context from PHP code. So this wasn't really an issue. This was just a question about why I removed the original prompt that I was using. And the reason was that I updated it from the Text DaVinci 003 model to the ChatGPT API, because the first version was created with just the Text DaVinci 003 model. And this model is not a chat model, so I had to give it a prompt so that it acts like a chatbot. But when I updated to the ChatGPT model, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to give any prompt, you just ask your question and it works perfectly. So that's it. And currently I have one issue here, which is still open. And this issue is that they get an error 404 when it tries to post to the message.php. And 404 of course means that the file was not found. So I thought that probably the reason for this is that I added a slash to the message.php in my script.js. I am sending the request to the event source and I send it to slash message.php, so it's looking for it in the root of the web server, because I was testing it just on localhost and then I used just a slash there. So it works for me, but it's not going to work for other people. So I told them to change the code so that it actually posts to the right place. And they changed it, and then that fixed it, but then they got an error 500. And now I'm pretty sure that this is also because they did not include the composer package for OpenAI. So in today's video, I will fix this problem, and I will move this to my own code so that I don't have to have any dependencies in this repository. So let's first of all replicate the problem. So if I stop this server and I cd to the main folder, and this seems kind of obvious that people would run phps localhost here in the root of this repository. And the reason why I have this PHP folder here is that originally I made this in Python as just a command line version, and then I made a PHP version later, so it's kind of funny. And this Python version still uses just the command line version and the Text DaVinci 003 model. So I might update this in a future video so that the Python version works in the browser as well, because I've actually never written anything for the browser, like on a web server with Python, so that would be an interesting video. But now let's go to our localhost 8085 again. And of course, there's nothing here now because I have to go to PHP. And there's a lot more problems here than just the message.php, apparently. Maybe if I put a slash in the end, then it will work. So let's fix these issues. So what is the problem here? The problem is that we are getting the style from style.css. Actually, how do you fix this problem? Because I can't do this because then it's from the root. But if I do this, then if there's no slash, it breaks it. Is this just a problem with the PHP built-in server that it omits slash? That's actually interesting. I don't know how to fix this. Can I do dot slash? No. I feel pretty stupid at this moment, so I will go to the slash version and I will try to figure out what the problem is with that later. Maybe I will ask ChatGPT. Well, actually, I have ChatGPT here, so I can just ask. How can I link my style.css style sheet so that it works when the URL is dir and dir slash, with and without slash? And of course, this doesn't work now because I am in this folder. So let's fix that issue first and then fix this issue. So I'll copy this message so that we have it saved. And here I will just remove this slash. So that should fix the issue. Although we're gonna have the same issue as with the CSS file. So let's refresh. And I will ask this again. You can link your style.css using a root relative path in your HTML5. The root relative path starts with a /. Yes, I understand. I understand this, but how do I make it work for everybody? Can I make it work without? Well, I cannot make it work without, because how does it know if it's a directory or a file? So I will abandon this. This is not a real problem. So let's leave it as is. Now I might have some sort of like base path that you could modify or something like this, but this should work. So that's the first issue solved. Now it works. So let's then remove our vendor directory. We do not need that anymore. And we will remove our composer lock and our composer JSON. And for some reason I have composer this here as well. I think I have that globally installed as well, so I don't need that. And then I will go to my other repository, my other project, which is Tidleroo, and src, actually I will copy it directly, cp src chatgpt.php, and I will copy it to php/. So here I have my ChatGPT function that takes a message and the API key and then just sends it to the ChatGPT API. Now I might want to do something here to change this model. I will say model and I will pass that in here as well. I will add it as the last one. And I will default it to this. So then you can actually use this with the GPT-4 API if you want to. So I'll do that. And I will in fact put all of these on their own lines. And actually, I designed this to just send one message, not for chat. So I will change this to an array of messages, and I will just pass it in here. And since I am using the streaming method, I cannot use this function. So this is not as simple as I thought. So actually, I have to go to my message.php, and first of all, I will remove vendor autoload, and I will remove this one. Then I will have to do all this stuff in there, because right now we are sending this to OpenAI chat. So I will copy this function, and I will put this in here. It will be in the curl opt write function. So this will be the write function, which will take the data, and I have to set this response text up here. Response text is empty, and then we will append to the response text the content. And then we have to echo and we have to flush. So is this actually going to work this way? I think it will work this way. But this is actually not returning anything now, because it is using the streaming method, so it's just echoing out the stuff. Well, I do have to return the response text. Yes, so I will return response text. Exactly. So I will just return response text. And I guess I should do something like, if there was an error response, then I will throw new exception, error in OpenAI request. And I will pass in here sprintf some message, which should be curl error number of ch and a colon and a space, and then I will add the curl error ch. So I should get an exception that tells me what the error was in the response. And here I'm not actually handling properly the errors from OpenAI here. So we're going to be back in this problem that it will say, sorry, but I don't know how to answer that. No, actually I am doing it here. If there's an error, then the content will be the error message. So yes, it will work just fine. It will answer with the message from OpenAI, which might not be what you want in a production environment, but whatever. So now that I have this function, this will be array messages, and then I will have the API key, and param string model will be the OpenAI model, and it will return the response and streams the response. Sends a message to ChatGPT API, streams and returns the response. That is what this function does. Let's clean this up a bit. Okay, so now what I should do is I should call this function in my message.php, and I will in fact remove this altogether, and I will say response text equals that, and I can remove it from here, and messages will be just messages, right? Because I will add the current user message to that. And API key is probably API key. It's settings API key, and I can remove this one, and I will pass this in here. And I don't have to pass in the, well, I should pass in model from the settings model, and then I'll add to the sample model to use in OpenAI API model GPT 3.5 turbo, and I will add it in my actual settings too. All right, and then what should I do next? I think this should work now. So let's try it out. I will clear this chat and I will refresh this page, and for some reason the chat was not cleared because I have the same problem with the clear chat. I'm sending it to slash, and furthermore, before I did not add any error handling to that function. So here we realize why we need to have error handling. I just call fetch slash clear text, clear chat. So that's a bit of a problem. Let's see, is there any other slashes here? No, that should be it. So if I refresh this and I clear chat, it clears. If I refresh it again, there's nothing. And if I say hello, then I get nothing. So something is wrong. Something is wrong because I did not send the stream option. So I have to go here and I have to say model messages and stream is true. And let's try again. Hello. Nope. Let's see what is the problem. Network 500. Let's go to our error log. Call to undefined function. Okay. So we need to include this file, of course, in our message.php. So I will add here require chatgpt.php. And let's try again. Hello. Hello, how can I assist you today? So now it works. Can you write hello world in C? Certainly. Here's the code. Okay. Great. So now it works and we don't have any dependencies. Great. So I will in fact commit this change. So I will remove that and this and that is okay. I will not put this in this one yet. And git add php/chatgpt and I will say git commit m removed dependencies. Alright, so then let's go back to some issues. So this issue should be now fixed because I'm pretty sure it is because of the dependencies. So that's fine. And we can run it from a folder as well. But this bothers me very much. Why is it like this? I could write some PHP code that checks if the URL doesn't end with slash, then it does something. But how do I know that if I am in index.php, there's no slash? So perhaps I should put this in the settings. So I could put something like echo settings base URL. And then I could add here require settings equals require settings.php. And I will add dir like this. And I should probably make it backwards compatible with the previous settings. So I will just do this. So it's going to be an empty string if it is not set. And I should do the same thing with the ChatGPT API. So I will change this to that as well. And then I can add to my sample base URL. And by default it is empty. Base URL should it be URI maybe of app eg /app my app path / I should add a slash to it, should I? Yes. So I will actually call it URI. I think that is better than URL because URL implies that there should be HTTPS. So let's do this. And then here I should add a slash to it. This is too complicated now. Base URI. Base URI is that if base URI is not an empty string, then base URI is trim rtrim base URI slash and slash. So we force a slash in the end. So that should work. So if it's empty, then we don't add any slashes. But if there is something there, then we add slash to it. But we remove the slash if there was a slash already. Okay. Complicates things a little bit, but that's okay. And I should do the same thing with script.js. So I will do this. And now if I go here, it still doesn't work. But then I can add to the settings, which I have to add to my actual settings. I will add here /php/. And I can add a slash or not add the slash. So now if I refresh, it still doesn't work for some reason. Base URI. Did I not change it to base URI? URI. Refresh. Okay, now it worked. And if I put a slash here, it still works. And if I go here and I remove a slash from here, and I refresh, it still works. And if I remove that, it still works. Okay, that is good. Now I should do the same thing in the script.js. So how should I do that? I will do this. I will say base URI plus this. And here I will do the same. Base URI plus that. And in index.php, I will set it here. Script let base URI equal and I will add it here. So now it should work. So refresh this and clear chat, refresh, go here, say hello, it works, clear chat, refresh, and remove this and say hello, and it works. Okay, so now that works too. So what should we do now? Let's commit these changes as well. So these are all about the base URI. So I will say git commit m fixed problems with base URI. And I will add this as git commit m fixed backwards compatibility with settings. And actually I will not do this yet. Or because I have to add the same thing here. No, I did that already. Okay, fine. So I will commit. Okay. And now we have everything committed. So there's one more thing I want to fix. I think these issues on the GitHub page are now fixed. Those should all be fixed. So let me double check. Okay, I think those are fixed now. So there's one more thing. So let me go to YouTube, and there's one thing in the YouTube comments that I have noticed. So here, if I scroll down, well, here's another problem, that apparently it stops answering after a while, but I haven't been able to recreate that problem. Okay, here it is. So sometimes it says, sorry, but I don't know how to answer that in between the text. Now, this has happened to me a couple of times, but I have never caught it. So the problem is that it will start to write an answer, but in between the answer, it will add, sorry, I don't know how to answer that. And then it just continues and it adds another one. Sorry, I don't know how to answer that. And the problem is somewhere in the way I handle the messages. So if I go to chatgpt.php, here I'm doing this. If we have the delta, which will be the part of text, the part of the response, then we set the content to that, or an empty string if it's not there. If we get an error message, we set the content to the error message. If we get the data done message, then we set the content to nothing. Otherwise, we set the content to sorry, but I don't know how to answer that. Now the idea here is that if there was something unexpected, then it would do this. But I don't yet know what the unexpected thing is. It's probably something to do with this JSON. So the data that comes from the OpenAI API will be not properly formatted JSON. Or perhaps this substring method is not the best way of reading this. So it's a substring 6 because this data colon space is 6 characters long, and this every delta should start with this. Now one thing might be that it will send a ping, but it shouldn't matter because I check it here that it has to start with data, otherwise we'll continue. So I will do this. I will first of all log this. I'll say error log invalid ChatGPT response, and I will add here the actual delta. So if it happens in the future, I will catch it. And I will do something like error is this, and up here I will set error to null. And then here I will do something like if response text is empty and error is not null, then response text will be error, and I should flush this message with the error. Now I don't really like this way of doing this, but at least it will not keep repeating this error. And actually the error is again inside this function, so I will use it. Okay, so I think that will be at least a little bit better. Now let's see this exception here. Am I handling that anywhere? In the message, I am not. I will actually get an error. So I guess I could just try this and catch exception. I probably should create my own exception for this so that I can catch other exceptions differently, but let's do it this way right now. And if we get an exception, then we say response text equals sorry, there was an error. And this error will now be either a PHP error or a curl error. Now, okay, I will create my own error. I will say curl error exception. And I will just define it here, okay? I will say class curl error exception extends exception. And then I can throw my own error. And I don't really have to have this slash here. And then in message.php I can catch curl error exception. Error in the connection. Check the error logs. Let's do that. And otherwise it will, if there's some actual problem with PHP, then it will throw an exception. Or it will fail, depending on what the settings of the server is. So in here, when I get the message, am I handling it here? Of course I'm not handling it here. So I will ask ChatGPT how to handle event source errors. How do I handle event source errors in this case? You can attach an event listener to the error event of the event source object. Okay, add event listener error. Okay, so let's do that. And we will handle it somehow. How will we handle it? We will update the message and we will say, sorry, there was an error in the request. Check your error logs. Okay. And I probably don't have to add this E because I'm not doing anything with it. Handle errors. Okay, so that should now work. So let's refresh this and thank you. You're welcome. Okay, it still works. Now let's invoke an error. Let's go to our ChatGPT and I will add some X in the end of this and then I will say hello. And it is just hanging here, so we did something wrong. Let's check the network. I think I sent the message, hello, but it just said stopped. Why did it say stopped? It said stopped because in this URL, the response will be invalid. It will not be a JSON object because it's the wrong URL. So I should add another thing here that if the wait a minute. Yeah, the response will be something. What will it be? Let's do print R response. Or in fact, let's error log response, which should be here. So let's see what it actually logs. Because there will be something in there, but it is not nothing. And it is not formatted this way. And there's no deltas in it. So let's see what is in here. Hello. Why is that? Does it fail here already? What if I send the wrong API key? Hello. It still doesn't work. Well, that is a bummer. So what happened here? We sent the message and we got stopped. So this is my message that I am sending in message.php. Stopped in the end. So why did I not get an exception here? Wait a minute. Response is that. And let's open the error logs and let's refresh the page. And I will say hello. And there is no message. Response 1. Okay, return string or boolean. So I guess it returns true. And I don't get the response text. So let's do this then. If we don't have response text, then if we have a curl error, if there's a curl error number, then we will throw a curl error exception. Otherwise, we will throw something else. Error in OpenAI API request. Unknown error. Unknown error exception. Let's do OpenAI error exception. I don't know why I have to say error exception, but whatever. OpenAI error exception. Well, I can still add if there's no response text or no response. So if this returns false or there's no response text. So now I should get some error. And now I can catch this exception in my message.php. So let's catch this as well. But there will be nothing in the error logs. There was an unknown error in the OpenAI request. I don't really like this error message, but it is what it is. So let's clear this chat and let's refresh and let's say hello. And we still don't get it. What is going on? Stopped. Response text. So let's error log response text. Wait a minute. Do we get a response text? No. Text. And let's try this again. Now we get it. Wait a minute. Okay. I know what's the problem. Here I'm setting the response text, but I'm not actually printing it out. So I'm not flushing this thing. So I have to send the data. So let's go here and copy this thing. Now should I just send the error here or not? Let's put this in here. Response text is that, and I will send the data out. Response text. I don't want to copy this so many times. I will do again error. If error is not null, then we will do this and we will print the error. And here I will say error is null. So now if I go here and I say hello, sorry, there was an unknown error in the OpenAI request. Now, what is the error actually? I put the wrong API key, but why didn't I get the error then? Let's put here error log data. Perhaps it doesn't send it as a delta then. Hello, and invalid API key, okay. Message is empty. Invalid API, okay. And I have an undefined variable, response text. So if I have an error, I have to set the response text to the error. Okay, so I have to do this when I get the data from OpenAI. I have to first try and JSON decode it, data. And then I have to do this. If there is an error message, then we set the content to the error message. And now actually the message can be empty, so we have to do this. If there is an error, then we set the content to error message, and let's put the error code here as well. So what was it called? Type, error type. So this will give a better error. And then we just return from this the strlen of data. And I think there will be no error in the delta here. So I will remove that one. But I will leave this case here because I really want to know what is the data that comes from there to make that error. And I have to add this error to the response text. All right. So let's try this again. Hello. And it doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? Stopped. JSON is JSON decode data. And there should be an error. Content is JSON error message and JSON error type. And response text dot equals that. And that is strlen of data. Well, again, I'm not sending it out. Okay, so error will be this. So then I will send out the error because we will come to this position. And let's refresh this again. And let's say invalid request. Okay. Hello. Sorry, there was an unknown error. Now it's an unknown error. What was the unknown error? It is not unknown. Why is it unknown? Hello. Unknown error. Where am I saying unknown? Here. If I get OpenAI error exception. So I get this. So that means there is no response text or there's no response. But there should be a response because I'm decoding this data. Let's do again. Error log JSON and error log data. and say hello and type error. Message must be string. Sorry about that. I have to say print R JSON true. And let's try again. Hello, at least we got a different error now when there was a PHP error. So what did we get? We got the error and the data was this. So we actually got the error. Standard object error. So did we get the error or not? Error log got the error. We set the error to that. And then here, if the response text is empty and the error is not null. Are we setting the response text to something? We shouldn't. Hello. Got the error. So we got the error. But why aren't we printing the error? Okay. Error equals that. Error is error. Hello. Error is nothing. What? I am passing it in here. Error is null. And we use the error. And then error is this. Concatenated with that and this. So what is the error at that point? Refresh. Hello. So we are setting the error, but it disappears. So it's something to do with this function scope now. It disappears. So I will not do it this way. I will just print out the error here. So I will do this flush. So let's remove this one because it probably doesn't work either. And I'll just add it here. That we say data error. And I will do the same thing here. But if I add it here, then it's gonna output it multiple times. I will just remove this and I will only log it. And let's see what will happen. So now if I go here and let's clear this chat and I say, hello, invalid request error. Sorry, there was an unknown error. Now why do I get two things? Sorry, there was unknown error. OpenAI, so I get this as well. I will just die. If this error happens, I will die. And let's refresh. And I will say, hello. And now we are sending the message. I can't die there. That is not the right solution because I have to say stop. So I don't need this anymore. Let's say stopped as well. Stopped. Let's try that. Hello. Sorry, there was an error in the request. What? So now we got an actual error from the request. So what was that error? Invalid request. Now we're sending this all the time. Do I need to have two new lines here? Hello. No, that's not the thing. How do I stop this thing? It's event stop and data stop. So this is what I need to do. Refresh. Hello. Invalid request error. Now this is interesting that we get this because it is trying to markdown convert this message. So I will add some markdown ticks so it will not convert it. I will do that. And in fact, I will do it this way. I will trim this so that it will get rid of this space here if the message is empty. And then I will say error is that error, like this. And this should have that in there. Very complicated error handling. There's probably more errors in my error handling than it will actually catch. Hello, invalid request error. That looks great. Wait a minute. Invalid request error. I actually wanted to have the code, not the type. Hello, invalid API key. That's good. Okay, let's look at this code. It looks kind of horrible. So if there was an error, then we get the error. Should I do this? I add the trim inside here and I add this on its own line and I do that and then I send the data and then I send the event stopped and then I flush and I die. And I remove that. So that looks a bit better now. And return, this should be, well actually I don't have to return because I die. So that's it. And then we loop through the deltas and we decode the data inside the delta. And if we have the delta, then we get the content or nothing. Now I don't really like this. Why is it content or nothing? Because I thought that there might be an error, but there is no error, so I will do just this. If there is content, then you do this. If the delta is just data done, then we don't do anything. And if it's something else, then we get an invalid response and we log it. And we add the content to the response text, which is here and it's passed as a reference here, so we should be able to edit it. And then we flush out the data. And then we handle the errors. I can probably do this this way. If there was no response, that means there is a curl error. So I will do this first. If there's no response, do a curl error. And if there is no response text, then do this OpenAI error exception. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. And I'm getting pretty tired. So let's see if this now works. So let's go here and clear this chat and refresh this page and say hello. And we get invalid API key. Okay, what if I add some X in the URL and then I say hello, invalid URL post. Okay, that is a good error message. And if I do actually this and I say hello, null hello, how can I assist you today, null? What? Null hello. And of course I didn't have my console open as that happened. Null hello. What? Clear chat. Hello. Null hello. What is null? Why is it null? Null. Hello, how can I assist you? Null. Okay. So perhaps I should have that double question mark in there. So the content can be null. Wait a minute. Why is it null? Is it really the text null? Apparently. So I will do this again. Or I guess I can do this way. Wait a minute, but if it's the text null, what on earth? Let's see what this does if I do it like this. And I say hello. Still I get null. What is null? Content. So now I'm actually getting to this error. So there is no content and it's not this. So I get here. So now I should have the error here. Finally. Delta is empty. Index, finish region, stop. Okay. So do I have the delta here? Yes, I have choices delta, but I don't have content. So in fact I should do like I did before. If I have the delta, then I will set the content to the content or nothing if there is, because there might be nothing. I don't know because I only checked this one. Okay, so I get the finish reason. Great. So let's refresh and somehow it removed the nulls there. So if I now say hello, hello, how can I assist you today? Okay, now it works. Now it works. Now it works. So can you write a PHP program to say hello world? Sure, here's a simple PHP program to say hello world. Great. So it seems like it is working now. And we get a little bit better errors. And we are checking this problem. Now I'm not quite sure if when this happens, there will be a piece cut off from the response. But I just can't replicate it. Can you write the same in Rust? Let's try to ask some more stuff because someone was complaining that it stops answering. Can you make a website in Rust? Yes, it is possible to create a web applications and websites using Rust. Rust has several frameworks that you can use to create websites. Okay, here's an example of creating a simple Hello World web application using the Rocket framework. Okay, how would you do that in Node.js? Certainly. Why do you need to say certainly? Here's an example of creating a Hello World website using Node.js and Express framework. Okay, yeah, still seems to work. Can you write a poem about the code you just wrote? Sure, here's a short poem about the Node.js code we just wrote. In the land of Node.js, our code begins to take form. With each app and get call, we navigate through the norm. Our Hello World site is alive and ready to show a message to the world as our server begins to glow. With each connection made, we respond with pride and glee, for in this digital world, our code becomes the key. So let us code with care and let our creativity soar. For with each line we type, we unlock something more. That is a pretty good ending for today's video. I hope you liked this video, and I hope that you try out my ChatWTF once I post these changes on my repository. And leave me a comment down below and tell me if it works now better than before. And if you have some problems with it, then post a GitHub issue or leave me a comment down below. And I will make sure to fix the problems. Okay, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.